Hey everyone, so in our last recording, we have completed our packages topic, like everything about packages, its introduction types, how to create, how to access everything, and what is the difference between them, and what are the examples of built-in packages, what is pip, what are the commands used for installation, etc., etc. Done. So let's see if you are going with the first part. We are done with that. If you are going with the second part, you are learning second this files part. Then let's see. So what all topics do we have in files? First, introduction to files, then file objects, built-in methods, built-in attributes, methods to create, read and write data in standard text file, binary file, CSV files, then pickle module, os path modules, and command line arguments. That's about files. So what is a file? File is a named location on a disk to store some related information, right? And the information will be stored permanently. That is, it is non-volatile memory. For example, hard disk. On the other hand, we know that RAM is volatile, that loses the data when the computer is turned off, right? So that we we can't use that when will not be saved and we can't access it again. So there are two types of files. First one is text file and second one is binary file. So text file, it stores the data in textual form, that is human readable characters, that are alphabets, digits, symbols, etc. Right. So all the textual file and textual data will be stored in text files and its extension will be .txt. Also, this .csv, that is comma separated values. So now there is another type of file, that is binary file. The data stored in binary file is in the binary format, that is, you are aware of zeros and ones, right? So that is non-human readable. Text files were human readable and binary files are non-human readable, that is in binary format. So in this, we won't have any line terminators like backslash n, etc., etc. So binary files also include images, audio files, video files, etc., etc. So its extensions will include .jpg, .png, .mp3, .mp4, all the data other than the textual form. So they will be opened in binary mode, that is B, and this textual form will be normal one. So let's see. When we want to read from our file or to write from our file, we first need to what? We first need to open it, right? So what are these three things? What is the order we need to follow? First, open a file, then you can perform any operation, either write or read, then close the file. This is the main thing you need to remember. Now, it supports file handling. Python supports file handling, and it allows us users to handle files using like that means we can read the files, we can write the files along with we can operate the on files. So we have some functions, built-in functions in files. So opening and closing functions. For opening a file, we have something called as open function, right? So the syntax for which is file object equals open file name, comma access mode, comma buffering. This will be optional. So let's see, what is file name? The file name, as the name suggests, the name of the file. The access mode, let's see what are the access mode in a short time. So the access mode determines the mode in which file has to be opened. Like, do we have to read from it? Do we have to write? Do we have to append, etc., etc.? Whatever operation we need to do on that particular file, that will be decided based on the access mode. Lastly, we will be having something called as buffering. Buffering value is uh, set to 0. If no buffering takes place, it is set to 1 when there is buffering while accessing a file. So first, let's see. So I told you about access mode, right? In the syntax, we have seen access mode over here, right? File name, you know the name of the file. Let's see what is access mode here. So there will be different modes of opening a file. So first, let's see one by one. First one is R. R is reading mode. It opens a file for reading only. So the file pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. So this will be default mode. Okay. The pointer, the cursor will be placed at the beginning of the file. Remember this also. The default mode is R. And we also have RB. This is for the normal files, like textual files, text files. Now for binary, the same thing, but we will have RB attached to it. So it opens a file for reading only. In which format? Binary format. So the file pointer will be placed at the beginning of the file again, and this is also the default mode. Now third mode. Third one is R plus. It opens a file for both the reading and writing, and the file pointer will be placed at the beginning of the file itself again. But the difference is over here is it opens the file for both reading as well as writing. Now next one is RB plus, that is the same thing as above but for in binary format. Next W, that those four modes were for reading. Now we exclusively have writing one. So it opens a file for writing only. So it overrides the file if the file already exists. If the file doesn't exist, it creates a new file. Alright, that is about W. Now we have WB. WB opens a file for writing only in binary format because B is there, right? So, and it again, as above, it overrides the file if it already exists. If the file doesn't exist, it will create a new one. Suppose, for example, I had a file named data science in which I have a name like Yogesh. So, when I try to create one more file with the same name, and I am trying to write something like ABC now. So, in place of Yogesh, it will overwrite it as it is mentioned over here. It will overwrite it and change the file content to ABC only in place of Yogesh. Now W plus. W plus opens a file for both writing and reading. It overwrites the existing file if the file exists. If the file doesn't exist, again it writes a new file for reading and writing. Now, WB plus opens a file for both writing and reading in binary format. And again, it overwrites the existing file if it exists. If the file doesn't exist, it creates a new one. Now, lastly, we have append function operation A. So A access mode opens a file for appending. The file pointer is at the end of the file if the file exists, right? And while reading, it will be at the beginning of the file. Now, while appending, the file pointer will be at the end of the file if the file exists. That is, the file is in append mode. Append means we will be combining or joining the file. Okay. So if the file already exists, it will append it at the end. If it doesn't exist, it will create a new one. Now again we have AB for same thing for binary format. Next we have A plus. It opens a file for both appending and reading. The file pointer will be at the end of the file if it already exists. If the file opens in append right? If it doesn't exist, it will create a new one. Again, AB plus, it will also open a file for both appending and reading. The file pointer is at the end of the file if it is already existing. Then if doesn't exist, it will create a new one for reading and writing. That is all about the access modes. What all we learned are RB, R plus, RB plus, W, WB, W plus, WB plus, A, AB, A plus, AB plus. These were all the file access modes. Now let's see. We have seen about the open method here. Its syntax also. Open method or function you can say. So before you can read or write a file, you have to what? You have to open it using Python built-in open function. So for doing that thing, we need to use which method? Open function. So uska syntax, what do we have? File name, comma, access mode, comma, buffering. We have seen about 12, all the 12 access modes. You know what is file name, and open is a function we use to open. That is mandatory. Now, the close method. The close method of a file object flushes any unwritten information and closes the file object. After which no more writing can be done. So Python automatically closes a file, but it is a good practice that we close the close we use the close method to close a file. Right. So remember to close file every time. So how do we close it? The syntax will be file object dot close. So let's see with an example how do we create it. So suppose you want to open a file. So this is FO is the file object. You can name it anything A, B, C, X, Y, Z, etc. etc. Here we are naming the file object as FO for better understanding. FO equals open. When you're trying to open it, open. Under the parenthesis, we have the file name foo.txt. What is this? foo.txt is our file name, comma W. W is the access mode. Now print name of the file fo.name. So do you know what is this fo.name? This is the file attribute. I'll tell you about file attribute very soon below. So next we are using open method over here, open function over here to open a file. Now here we are using close function to close a file. That is a simple and basic example of using a file. So what do we get as an our output? Name of the file foo.txt. Next, reading. So now we have seen how to open it, how to close it. Let's see how to read and how to write. So for reading, we have read method. For writing, we have write method. So we have some set of methods for that particular things. So let's see first how to write. So write method writes a string to open a file, to an open file. It is important to note that Python string can have binary data and not just text. Because I have told you earlier also, there are two types of files, binary file and text file. Now, what is the syntax for using this write method? File object again, dot write method, under which you can write anything, give anything, any data. Let's see with an example. All the similar thing we have seen above. FO is the file object equals open is the open method under which we are giving the file name, comma, access mode, W. FO again the file object dot. Here we are using write method to write something into the file. So Python is a great language. Yeah, it's great. We have given this string under double quotations. Now we are trying to close the file using close function. So we will so this thing will be written in the particular file using this write method. Now next we have append method. So we have seen append mode over there, right? So let's see what is append method, how do we use it. So we just need to change the access mode over here. uh, fo is the file object equals open, this is the file name, comma, this is the access mode. So in place of writing, we are trying to append it. So this method will add this line. So when we just use w, it will override the text, right? Suppose I told you, right, Yogesh was already there. The Yogesh text was there in the file, right? When I am trying to write this thing, it will remove that Yogesh and it will replace it with this string. But when we try to append it, it will join Yogesh, then the string we are trying to add. That is the difference between append function and the write. Append and access mode, append mode and write mode. Next we have read method. Read method, as the name suggests, reads a string from an open file. You see, like this. Fo is the file object, open, same thing. R plus we are trying to read, and this is the access mode. We have seen all the different access modes, right? So string equals to str equals to fo dot read 10. So we can write the position or we can't. It is like optional. I'll show you. See, yeah, this count. It's given in under square bracket, right? That means it's optional. So we can just write fo dot read without any 10, 20, any count over there. Or we can give any count. That count means it will count the number of characters and start reading from the that particular character. See, this method starts reading from the beginning of the file, and if count is missing, then it tries to read as much as possible. Now, let's see the file handling examples, different examples. You see, open, we are using our access method over here, right? To open a text file. Now, to read it, we are trying to use our access mode, then our method read method as well. Again, next, we are trying to read one line. We can use read line also. If we want to read the list of lines, we can use read lines method. Then for writing, again, you know about w access mode, right? Then we have write method, then we can close it. Again, to write to a file, we can use simply write also, then we can also use write lines if it is multiple lines, because this is this one string, then second, then third. This will be going to first line, this second line, then third line, like that. So we can use write lines method for that sake. Next one, append or to join. We can use what, which method? A. We have seen above also, right? The same thing. Now the file positions. So we have two methods, tell and see for the same. So let's see. Where is the tell? Yeah, tell tell method tells you the current position within the file. In other words, the next read or write will occur at that many bytes from the beginning of the file. Okay, so whenever you want to read or write, it will uh, tell that the position, current position, if it is begin at the beginning of the file pointer, if it is at the beginning, if it is end of the at end of the file, etc., etc. Right. Then we also have seek, so that we can change the file position. Tell tells the file object position. Seek changes the file position. It changes. Okay, so that is the difference between the two. Next, we have rename method, and we will see this in OS shortly. Yeah, we also have file built-in attributes. I have shown you in the beginning, right? File.name in very first example of our files, we have seen fo.name. Then it returned foo.txt. That is its file name. So how did that work? Because of the file built-in attributes. So Python supports these many attributes: file.name, file.mode, file.close. So what is the purpose of this? File.name returns the name of the file which is already opened. File.mode returns the access mode, and file.close returns true if the file is closed. If file is open, it will return false. So let's see an example. Suppose our file name is myfile.txt and it is in reading mode R. So now we are trying to use these three file attributes: f.name, f.mode, f.close. So now, then we opened it, we did this, we used the file attributes, now we are closing it. Then again, when we closed it, we are again trying to we are trying to check what is the status by using this file attribute f.closed. So first, let's go one by one. Print f.name means the file name. File name is myfile.txt. It gave us myfile.txt. That is done. Now next one, f.mode. What is our access mode? R. So it returned us R. That is done. Now next, since the file is opened, f.closed or not, it tried to check. So it gave us false. Right. In the next line, we try to close the file. So f.close. Now when we are checking if the file is open or closed, f.closed, it is returning us true. That is the usage of file attribute. Simple, right? As simple as that. Next one is Pickle Module. Pickle Module in Python provides functionality for serializing and deserializing Python object structure. So serializing will be called as pickling, and deserializing is unpickling. Let's show you serializing. See, it is also known as pickling. So this involves converting Python object or in hierarchy into byte stream. So we will convert the Python objects into bytes. Then byte streams will be stored in a file. Okay, so that we can maintain its state across some sessions. That is known as pickling. That means some Python objects are converted into byte streams and stored and maintained. That is known as pickling. So while doing pickling, we make use of some function that is known as dumps. Okay, dumps. Next one is deserialization. This is also known as unpickling. This is inverse operation of serialization, where byte stream is converted back into the original Python object hierarchy. So we in during serialization we converted it to byte stream and stored it, right? In deserialization we are converting it back to Python object hierarchy so that we can use it. It was like to store it. Pickling was to store it. So you know, na, our usual pickle, mango pickle, etc., etc. We will store it somewhere, right? So we will dump it in some jar or something. So that is the same thing happens when we do pickling. Pickle dot dumps. We will dump some data to store somewhere and convert it to byte stream and store it. Then when we want to use it, we will unpickle it whenever we want to use it. So while unpickling, we will make use of this load method. Okay, so that is known as unpickling. So see, when we are unpickling, we are loading it and we are printing it in the next line. So see, name Elise, age 30. It's getting print. So that is something about pickling, pickle module, pickling and unpickling, that is serialization or deserialization. So object is converted into byte stream and stored somewhere in the database, in memory, in file, etc. etc. That is serialization. When that particular stored data is converted back again from byte stream to that original object, that is known as deserialization. And during serialization, we use which method? Dumps method. And during deserialization, we use loads method. Done? See, dumps, loads. As simple as that. That's pretty simple. Now let's see, before going to OS module, let's see about the CSV file. So, reading and writing in CSV file. So, CSV, uh, which stands for comma separated value. These are common way to store some tabular data. Okay, so they are essentially text files only. Okay, .csv, I told you the extension while explaining about text file, right? So here we have the rows and columns separated by a specific delimiter. Most commonly, comma. Most often it will be a comma. So some data will be stored uh, that will be separated by a comma, something like that. So it is an efficient way we can handle the files without relying on our libraries like pandas, etc., etc. So there will be some CSV module for this sake, and CSV module, it provides some classes and function so that we can easily read and write CSV files. So as we have seen text files above, it provides us open method, close method, read and write, append, etc., etc. You know. So similarly, there is something called a CSV module. CSV module provides us so many classes and functions so that we can easily read and write this CSV file. So it handles a lot of complexities for us, such as it will deal with the delimiters, quoted files, new lines, etc. So how do we write something in CSV file? So as you know, what are the steps? First we need to open, then read or write or do some operation, then we need to close. So for opening a file, same, exactly same as the text file, you need to use what? Open method to open the file in writing mode. It's good practice that you use this new line equals to this to prevent empty rows from being written between each row. So this is the practice we do while opening this. Now, um, for text files, we used write method, right? Now we will be using writer object. So we will use this csv dot writer. Okay. So for writing data, we can do it in two ways. First way is we can write a single row or we can write multiple rows. A single row can be a list or a tuple, etc., etc. Now, a single one. Now, multiple rows can be a list of lists or tuples. So, how do we do that? How do we write it? We use writer dot write row the particular data rows. Now for multiple rows, writer dot write rows. See, can you see the difference? There is no S, there is an S. Right. Then you can give your data. You can see the example over here. You need to import which module. Which module are we using? Import CSV. Okay. Import CSV. You have your given data. Right. See, writer equals same thing. The open file path, you will give w new line equals this we will use for sure, right? And writer equals csv dot writer. This is the file object name. and here we are using the method. Now writer dot write rows. We are writing multiple rows of data. So it is successfully been written to that particular file path. That is the example. That is the syntax we use to write it. This is the detailed explanation. Again, the same thing. You can read it out. So after running, we will get this particular rows of data like name, age, city. Usually name, age, city will be in the tabular form, right? But here, when we are trying to convert it or display it in CSV format, we are getting like this, row wise separated by a comma. So we have multiple rows over here because we used writer rows. Now that was about writing. Now we will read it. Again the same thing. Instead of read, we will use reader. And again it will be the R axis C. Reader equals CSV dot reader file. So this is the file object. You can name it anything, but this is the reader method in which you will mention the data. Data equals to a list of reader, whatever you want to read. So this is the example. You can read the multiple lines using the by using for loop, by applying for loop as well. And that was all about reading and writing in CSV file. So we have seen the textual, we have seen the CSV. What else is in the syllabus? Last one is binary. See, we have seen what are file objects, the built-in methods, file built-in attributes that were name, closed, mode, etc. Then we have seen how to read write in standard text file and CSV file. Then we have seen Pickle module also. Now we will see how to read and write in binary file. Then we will go for OS modules and command line argument. So for binary, I would suggest you to go for your this lab program because you will be prepared for again for one lab question and also your exam. See, we have already done this example for binary data, right? So the same thing will be there in binary. What will be the difference? The access mode and the type of data, right? So see, what are we using, which access mode are we using over here? RB, WB, but usual text file or CSV file we will just use W or R. That are the access modes for CSV and text file files, and for binary files we will use RB, WB, AB, RB plus, WB plus, etc., etc. So B must be there. That is the main difference. Other than that, all the steps are exactly the same. And do you wonder what is this with open? Actually, I explained in class now. I'll explain you again about the two methods of opening that. Let me just open it. We have it in our slides. So we have two ways in which we can open a file. As the same way, the traditional way is open and close method, and in this in a traditional method, the older method that requires you to explicitly call the close method over here. When we use the traditional method, we must close the method explicitly, like manually, right? If we forget to close it, the file may remain open. That means it will consume our system resources. But the recommended way to open a file is by using this syntax, that is with open the file name mode as the file object. This is the syntax. Okay. So, by using which we can ensure that the file closes on its own. Can we see any close method over here? No, because the file automatically gets closed when it is exited. So it won't use our system resources, and this will prevent our resource leaks and potential file corruption. So this is the recommended way. So mostly we use this method. And the binary thing is same, exactly the same. The steps are exactly the same. Just the thing, what is the difference? The B, WB we need to write. And what else? Next we have already seen the pickle method, CSV files. Then we have OS module. So all our files will be contained in our directories, right? You know what is operating system, right? So we have some operating OS module which have our some several methods which helps us create or change or remove some directories. So let's see one by one. So first method is mkdir, that is make directory, for creating a new directory. So you can use this method of OS module, operating system module, to create the directories in the current directory. Okay, so you need to supply the an argument. Whatever directory you want to create, you need to supply it. So its syntax is something like this. OS, that is the module name, dot mkdir is the method make directory. You need to give the directory name. So you are importing OS. There is no space. There must be a space in between. When you are creating a directory, you will use which method? Make directory. mkdir. You are just creating test directory. So test you are giving. Next, you have chdr, by using which you can change your current directory. Okay, mkdir, you were creating a new directory. Now you are changing the current directory. Again, you need to give it in your argument. Right, done. Next one. Now we have next get current working directory. Get cwd. Current, see, it will display the current working directory. So again, the simple and similar syntax, os dot get cwd, in which we need not give any directory because it will only return us the current working directory on which we are working on. Then we have rmdir, that is removing a directory. Okay, so whatever directory you want to remove, you need to mention it in the argument, so it will get removed. We can also rename or remove or delete our files. So those things are present in which module? OS module. So OS dot rename current file name to new file name. Suppose you want to rename your file name to data science sem1 to the data science sem2. You can do it over here. You need to provide the arguments. See, test1 dot txt, test2 dot txt. So this will be changed to this. Now you can remove some file also by using which method? Remove method. Okay, so again the same syntax, os.remove file name. You need to again provide the argument. Lastly, we have command line arguments in Python, the arguments which are given after the name of the program in the command line. For example, C. When you run your program, C. Here, Python, C. This will be your name of the program, right? cmd1.py. After which, if you give some arguments, those are known as command line arguments. Okay. So I'll explain about this. Just hold on. Using our slides, you will understand better. So command line argument, these are the arguments which we pass when we run our program in our script. Example, we write Python filename.py, then followed by which we will give some arguments. Those are known as command line arguments. What is the use of this? And these arguments are like stored in the list. That list is named as argv, inside which module? Sys module. Okay, remember this one. You can use these passed arguments using indexing, like sys.argv 0, 1, 2, 3. A 0 is for the first argument, then 1 will be for second argument, like that. See the example. You have which module? Yeah, you have which module over here? Sys. So you are importing sys module and you are trying to print sys.argv. Done. So when we try to run this, see Python, your name of the program is example.py, then you are giving some list of arguments 10, 20.3, hello, like this. So see, if you can notice, you are getting your first argument as example.py, that is your file name itself. So your first argument is every time will be sys.argv of 0. Zeroth index will every time will be your file name itself. Then followed by the next arguments like 10, 20.3, hello, etc. etc. See another example. See, you are trying to create a list, that is you named it as my list. Then in that you are storing your sys.argv, whatever arguments you will give. Then you just want to print what? Your file name. The file name is this, your sys my list of 0. Okay. 0th index one will be your file name. Now next, after printing the file name, you are going for a loop, for loop, for elements in your list, print elements. So all the elements. So let's see. When we are running it, Python example.py, yeah, then you are giving some arguments. So your file name will be returned as file name is example.py. Same thing. Now next, followed by which it is running this loop, for loop. Example.py 10, 20.3, hello, like this. Then next, you can also refer this example for your ease. It is trying to find out if some particular thing is found or not found by using command line arguments. For example, in this, it is trying to see if S is there or not. So S in Amir is not found. But if M is there in Amir, yes, it is found, like that. By using what? Conditional statements, if else statements over here. So what is the use of this? You can, why do we need this command line argument at the first place? Let's see. So you can pass the file name as command line argument instead of hard coding it in script. So suppose you change the file name sometime, etc., etc., whatever you might be changing it or something like that. So you need not hard code it itself. You just can give your file name in command line argument, yeah, without hard coding it. And you can even pass this database name. You can even use remote IP to which we want to connect. Okay, so that is it. Like suppose in your laptop, your phone, your computer have its own IP address, right? But you want to change it. For example, don't want to keep it the same. So you can change it. You can connect to other IP addresses by using command line argument. And you can even use different database names, different file names, etc. etc. You are not hard coding it. It means you are not saving the same thing permanently. You can use different things by using command line argument. That is the use of it. So that's the complete thing about files. The second part of our fourth unit. All our questions hopefully are completed. See the fourth unit part. See, packages are done, types are done, then it's coming into how to create, how to access everything, the code, the differentiation between them, the built-in packages like OS, HTML also I explained, and pip and its commands are already done. And what is file, how to read, write in textual file, in binary file, in CSV file, all this is done. What are the different file access modes, what are the purpose of each, what is the syntax, what are the examples, what is the functionality of built-in file object modes, attributes, and everything with the syntax and example we have seen. And lastly, we have also seen command line arguments. Also for BSCQs, again, let's see objects, built-in objects, same things. Read and write command line. Pickle module also we have completed. So hope this helps you. All the best. Please reach out to me if you have any doubts.